what's up, everybody? This is James, also known as Just Some Nerd. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're going to be joined here in just a second by Mr.J Cosplay and Lady.J.Cosplay, and we're going to talk about Supernatural, we're going to talk about Deadpool, and we're going to talk about trying to plan a wedding during a pandemic. So, how are you guys doing?
Not too bad.
Good.
How are you?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. Things are semi starting to get back to normal, I guess. Uh, Working toward that way a little bit.
Okay.
So, what has the last 2 months or so been like for you guys? Have you been working normally, working from home?
With me working at the hospital, I actually is marked as an essential employee, and we're kind of in my office right now.
So you've been pretty much just at
Me,
home.
work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've just recently kind of started going back into your job, right, Miranda?
Yeah, just for the past week or so.
Yeah. So how is that going? Are you getting back into the swing of things, or is it
It's pretty slow. We haven't had much because of all the schools being out. I'm an embroiderer for a local business. Mostly we've just been kind of looking into other avenues of marketing since the schools will probably be shut down till the foreseeable future.
Yeah. We so the company I work for, we do a lot of different things, but one of the things that we have is a print shop, which is probably somewhat similar to what you guys do. We don't do embroidery, but it's a lot of the same, sort of things. And we've actually been pretty busy with school things for the school, selling yard signs. That's been really popular. Lots of the seniors, their families want to get yard signs with the senior's name on it, and congratulations and all that stuff. We've had a lot of kindergarten graduations, which has been kind of funny. Then things like that, little banners.
Yeah, we haven't really been doing anything like that. We have done a lot of graduation baskets with blankets, t-shirts. We actually just got a sand blaster in, and we've been messing with that. Made a cute little thing for myself, and it says
pretty cool.
So it's been fun, but yeah, it's definitely been slow, and I'm really hoping it picks back up here before long.
Yeah. So you guys are in West Virginia, so things are maybe opening up a little bit differently over there than what they are here. What is kind of the state of the businesses and things like that in your community?
Right now, our governor actually kind of just mimics yours. So a lot of anything that DeWine is pushing through is pretty much being mimicked in regards to the same thing. So uh, they're very much coinciding with each other. But I am noticing that he's still trying to stick with the sternness of everything. Um, we're definitely seeing like a whole different walk of life with this whole outbreak going on here as well. Even if we are a smaller, more rural population, it's still being safeguarded and taken care of. So it's one of those situations where like you can't believe it's going on, and all our local businesses, all of our big businesses, they're all following all the guidelines and making sure everything takes care of. But it's just tiring at this point. I'm not sure if everybody else is just as tired as we are, but we just want this to be over. We've got a lot to plan for this year.
Yeah, I think everybody is mostly ready to move on with it, but unfortunately, I think we're going to be stuck with a lot of these measures for a little while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for a little while anyway.
Yeah. So, you mentioned like you guys have been planning a lot. So you have you guys are planning to get married in late September, and so this is kind of made it difficult to plan that stuff because the venues and the caterers and all of these people, they don't necessarily know what kind of regulations they're going to have to be working under come September. So like what kind of unexpected issues or just little annoyances and things like that you guys have had to deal with?
A lot. I've mostly had problems with companies possibly shutting down. We had one vendor that we were going to be using that just closed their doors and wasn't able to do anything. Our venue is actually in Ohio because we're right here on the river, and they're having extreme restrictions put on it. So I actually had to cancel our reservation for the late September in the hopes that we could maybe try and do something else, still keep the date. If not, we might have to move it to next spring or summer.
Yeah, that's a pretty difficult situation to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I don't think anybody has ever, came across. We were kind of looking at wanting to keep our date because obviously we've been together for so long. It's time to make that step. It's time to get married,
Right.
And we're looking at different avenues of approach, outside weddings. We even went down to this silly idea of maybe doing like a drive-in wedding.
Yeah.
Like, we're at this point, we just want to be married, and we're trying to follow guidelines and procedures, and it's just one big headache after another. But at the same time, I mean, we just we stuck together, made sure that we're covering our bases, and if we can move forward, we're something we are, and if we can't, we're delaying it and moving it. And honestly, it's probably the most difficult year ever to plan a marriage, let alone like already being a problem in the first place because it's such a big thing, and then all of this is just one big traffic cone of no's at this point.
Yeah.
And we're just sticking at each other, looking at each other like, are we just gonna do it in the living room? Like.
Well, if you do decide to go the drive-through wedding route, I do have a recommendation for a vehicle that you guys could drive through with.
That's a really, really good one, and we're really great friends with him.
So,
I love
this was a pretty fun weekend. Do you guys kind of want to talk about how we ended up hanging out with this car all day and taking all these photos?
Absolutely. Give us just a second here. We're going to be changing you and getting you onto a power cord. We're running into some power issues, so give us just a second.
All right. Well, while they're doing that,
nothing works right.
There we go.
There we go.
I think you got it.
That was quick.
All right.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay. So, tell us about how you got hooked up with the supernatural car and why that was something that you guys, were so excited about that you wanted to do.
You should probably take lead on this just like you did with planning this car. I mean, this is all on you.
This was all my idea, mostly. I didn't know much about Supernatural. I had heard about it when we first got together, and he had only seen a couple of seasons. He goes, "You got to watch the show. I love it. You got to watch it." And I instantly fell in love with it, too. Our personalities are so much like Dean and Sam that it was kind of weird how good it fit. So when we were going to be taking engagement photos, I thought about a car that we kept seeing at conventions, and it was Baby. So I talked to the guy a few times. Super nice. Always was sitting there willing to talk to me about the car and how much work they had put into it. So I finally got his card because he said he did weddings. I said, well, if we ever get married, that would be the perfect car to go drive off into the sunset in.
I remember this conversation like 4 different times.
Yes.
And it just kind of came through fruition with you and just your crazy smorgasbord of planning.
So I said, if we're going to have engagement pictures done, we're going to have it done with Baby. There's no other backdrop that would be more perfect than Baby.
No.
So I continually talked to the guy through the business card. I just emailed him a few times, and we started talking over the phone, trying to plan it. It became a little difficult because the car wasn't able to drive at the time we were wanting to take pictures. And I finally said, you know what? We'll come to you. We drove to Georgetown, Kentucky, and he pulled it out of his garage, and we were able to take pictures right there in the backyard. But it was still beautiful, and I couldn't have imagined a better engagement shoot ever.
Not only was it just us two and Baby, like this car that literally was an encompassment of our whole relationship from when we first started dating to episode 1 to all the way to where we are now. We got to bring a really great friend and completely got fun with it, getting the video, and just literally have the best day of our lives. And we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for making that trip with
You're
us.
amazing.
And honestly, that ride that he gave, that 15, 30-second, whatever it was, ride was worth that drive. Good God, that was amazing.
So here we've got a little bit of a video.
Yeah, there it is.
Of
when I get sad, this is the thing I go to. Like
yeah.
my little giddy girl scream right there in the corner.
There's an episode where his foot
that's living right
stuck
there.
out the pedal and up into the dash.
Oh no!
And he drove through a fence.
I don't remember the context.
But it was a stunt
story
car,
he's
so
telling.
it
He's
didn't
talking about
really hurt it too
one of the stuntmen from the show.
The worst one was Frank. He's one of the car wranglers.
Wrecking one of the stunt cars.
He
or
works for
like
Jeff
that.
Budnick. And he was showing off in the parking lot.
Car out of his garage into his backyard, and then when we finished, he took us for a little roll around the street. And I don't know, you probably won't be able to hear it too well, but here in a few minutes when he gets onto the road,
anyway, Frank was showing off.
You can hear Justin say how hard he's fangirling about this whole experience.
And didn't have seatbelt.
Dude, my Care Bear scare came out. I think that's the girliest I think I've ever been around you, and it was worth it completely and totally.
Here in just a second when he gets on the road.
So it goes flying down over a curve.
Your reaction is pretty funny.
Over like a curve in the parking lot.
I love fast cars and going fast, but it's supernatural. That's baby. Like this thing was so intact. Like it had the little army men in the ashtray. He had the crayons up top. Like this was just fangirl 101. But I couldn't contain myself because this was just the life. It wasn't just me that did the girly scream.
Oh yeah. I was freaking out in the back.
Yeah, I wish we could have had somebody standing like on the side of the road and get a photo of us driving from the other side.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
Amazing. But with how difficult that whole situation was to plan, with you adding a fourth person would only have added one more headache to it.
Well, we could have followed it with the drone or something. That's what we would do now if we tried to do it again.
Yeah. At this point, it would have been cool, but it's one of those memories that all three of us get to have because not very many people get that thing, getting that ride in that car.
No, not at all. So one thing that from that experience that was so it was so funny that was separate from everything else that we were doing. I don't know how well you guys can see in this picture, but can you see the gentleman in the background there?
Oh, yes.
He puts you through the ringer on making this photo shoot difficult, trying to get a tree out.
So you guys want to tell the story of what's happening in the background of that photo there?
Wasn't he using a gutter drain?
Yeah, it's like a gutter drain trying to smack this branch
out of a tree because it was already loose and he was just trying to get it out.
And God bless him, because I know he was trying to make the pictures look better. He was trying to get this ugly branch out of the tree, but the way he did it made it so difficult to focus. Yeah. And honestly made this really crazy situation that we've already been through just a little bit better. It's like icing or the cherry on top of that cupcake. Yeah. Like, it was beautiful.
Essentially what was happening was he was playing piñata with a rain gutter in the background while we were doing this. I knew I think I maybe have a couple other more clear photos of him doing it, but I have no idea where they are. But I had to get one where he's just chilling in the background.
That was one of our more fun ones. That piñata really made it a day.
It was hilarious. So this was pretty legit, like all these weapons and stuff that he had in the back here. I mean, I'm not a Supernatural fan, but he had every little thing that you could possibly reference from Supernatural in that car.
He had everything. He had books. He had canisters of holy
He had
water.
the tablet, for God's
He had
sakes.
yes, he had the tablet. He had everything.
And not only did this man have it, but he knew the 7-page story of every single item there. Like, this guy was not only really gifted on making sure accuracy was a thing, but like, he knew his stuff to the point where I felt like I was a weeb in regards to Supernatural. It was like, oh, I'm just a newbie.
Memory serves that he said that he wasn't necessarily that big of a fan from like the start. It was just something that he kind of happened across, and between the the Supernatural side of the show and his love of old cars, he became pretty obsessed with it pretty quickly, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's obsessed with vehicles in general, I think, because he also owns that one Harry Potter vehicle, and it is just amazing to sit in too.
Yeah.
I think he said he had a Smokey and the Bandit, like the trailer replica also, but I think he said that it was damaged and in a rental building that he had somewhere else, so we didn't get to look at that one.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a few projects. I follow him still on Facebook and Instagram, and every now and then he'll find something new. I know he has a TARDIS replica.
Yep.
He also has a replica of 221B Baker Street from Sherlock, and he has the Ford Anglia from Harry Potter Chamber of Secrets, the car that they run into the Whomping Willow, which I'm also a huge Harry Potter fan, so I kind of fangirl for that one too.
Give him a shout out. Do you remember his Instagram handle?
Yeah, Let's Get Geeky.
Let's Get Geeky.
Yeah,
all right.
Just type in. Yeah, Let's Get Geeky.
All one word, no dots, no lines.
He's got Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a really great guy.
Yeah, he was incredibly nice to open up his house to us the way that he did.
Yes, he did, and it was so funny.
So I think this next photo in the slideshow here is the one that has your pet names for each other.
Oh.
So
are we actually allowed to show that on this channel?
Yeah, I think so. So here are your
this. Use vulgarities and right there beside me. Like, I can't hide from it. But yeah, that's pretty much what I get called as soon as I wake her up at 9 o'clock on a Saturday. Those two in general.
That's actually more PG than I remembered your nickname being. I was thinking yours was a little bit more vulgar than that. Jerk is nicer than what I remembered.
Mine was the jerk. I'm jerk. She's not.
It was funny. That's just, we were starting to watch Supernatural, and that's what they kept calling each other. And all of a sudden, we realized one day we started calling each other that too.
Yeah, it works though. It really does. Those are just beautiful photos. I love those.
They're stunning.
Yeah, I was very happy with the way these turned out. Even, what was the significance of this cooler? Because even the cooler was a prop from the show, wasn't it?
Wasn't that?
Yes, it was from when they were.
It was whenever they faced, I think, a Leviathan.
Leviathans.
And that's what he kept, the head of a Leviathan, because they hadn't figured out how to kill it yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, even that was a prop, which, dear Lord, I couldn't even believe he had that. Like, down to the scratches. It was just insane.
I would be more shocked by the props that he didn't have.
True.
Yeah, true. I was actually kind of surprised that there wasn't a dummy head in there.
Yeah. All of a sudden, something starts growling.
Something starts moving. Like, okay, this isn't too.
All right, we're into some cosplay pictures now. So, first one we got here is Killer Frost. Miranda, you want to kind of tell us about what inspired that costume and what made you want to do that character?
I just love the character. We started watching Flash with Zoe, our little girl, and it became kind of a nightly thing where we would sit down for dinner and we'd start watching Flash. Mm-hmm. And she loves the show. And I loved Killer Frost. Caitlin was such a sweetheart, but when she would turn into Killer Frost, she would have this power to her that most people would never see Caitlin have. And it was just inspiring that I wanted to kind of have that power too. I've never been a blonde character because I didn't think I could pull it off. But I said, you know what? I'm going to go for it anyway. I'm going to try it. And he calls me Ice Queen anyway, so it worked.
Honestly, yeah. The coldest hands in the comic.
Hit the wrong button there. Yeah, I really love that costume. I thought that turned out so well. I don't know. Is this something that, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's in your makeup, but you just made yourself look so, like, I don't know, unnatural, like superhuman looking.
It was definitely hard getting the makeup down. I'm not used to wearing those types of colors, and I'm definitely not used to those bright blue eyes. I think I freaked a few people out.
Yeah, but you love going like normal situations and being that character anyway. So like it's fun for you either way.
To watch people's head turn when they would see me walking into Walmart, it's the funniest thing.
All right. Okay, now we got Red Hood. So Justin, you want to kind of talk about a little bit what inspired you to want to do Red Hood and how you put this together?
The character as a whole is just, he's one of the most tortured individuals that you could find. Like if you actually dive into his material and like found out his character, like it's just one of those characters that is so, it's so dark, deep, and he's got one of those puzzled backgrounds. Like, how in the world are you still fighting for good, even though that you've been through hell situations? And like, I took that character and just kind of like applied it to some of the things that went through my life. And it was one of those situations where like, I have to do this cosplay. Like, this guy is me. We actually got with Mick, and he happened to have a Red Hood helmet that was 3D printed by another individual, and it was finished much differently. Like, they had a completely different direction, and immediately knew I got to get it. I got to redo this. I've got to get this cosplay done. It was like one of those signs from the Gothams itself. It was like, yep, you got to get this done. And like the whole transitional piece where he's got that eye busted, it really is a cool cosplay to put together. And it's even better is that was my first time doing lights. You don't get to see it in any of the photos. We never really experimented in the dark. It lights up like crazy. And I think that's one of my favorite portions about this is like you can see the human behind that demon, that person that's coming at you in Gotham. And it's just really awesome cosplay. Really fun to do it. Also, it's comfortable.
Yeah. So I don't know, maybe how aware you are of the sort of backstory from how the like the origin of the Jason Todd character is, but some of the people listening might not know it. But so for those that aren't aware, Jason Todd was the second Robin that replaced Dick Grayson, right? And he was never really as popular with the fans as Dick Grayson had been. And they did a story that ended with, you know, the Joker beating the crap out of him and blowing him up and leaving him for dead. And then they did a fan vote, and the fans got to vote whether or not Jason lived or died. And I guess this would have been what, like late 80s, early 90s. The blood hungry comic book fans at the time voted for him to die, so they killed Robin in the Batman comics for a little while, and eventually they replaced him with who's the third Robin? I'm blanking off. Tim Drake. But so they killed the Jason Todd character, and he was, you know, dead in the comics for a long time, and he was like one of the few, you know, sort of comic characters that died and stayed dead, and then eventually they resurrected him with this, you know, the Red Hood character.
Yeah. And not only did Jason Todd go through that, you know, the hellaciousness, but he did take on that Red Hood thing. And I think depending on which comic line you actually go through, the Red Hood was actually a villain beforehand, and they had the Red Hood gang. And like I watched, like there was an animated one where the Hood got passed, and that was the leader. And like he took on this whole order of Red Hood and ran with it, and it was just a really great story, and that's why I love that character.
Yeah, right. The Red Hood was an alter ego of the Joker, kind of in one of the early origins of the Joker, and I guess that's sort of where it comes from, is, you know, Robin coming back as a version of one of Batman's greatest enemies. I don't know, and I guess there's a really strong sort of parallel there between Red Hood and Winter Soldier, Bucky, you know, the Marvel sort of equivalent. And again, that was a very similar situation where, you know, Bucky was one of the few sort of characters in comic lore that actually stayed dead until he didn't. And, you know, the Winter Soldier and the Red Hood are, you know, very similar characters in that fact.
I think you're right on the nose with that one. I never actually made that connection until now.
Really? Yeah, well, they're both sort of young sidekicks. I mean, the original origins of how they died were certainly different, but the way that they brought them back was awfully similar.
Yeah.
Alright, so now I want to talk about the character that you're probably most known for around cons and stuff, which is Deadpool.
Yeah. Ah, God. This guy, he's number one on my list, not only because, you know, he is that badass, he is that anti-hero that fights for good no matter what, but his attitude and mine are very much alike. And putting on that mask, I even get that mimic of the Ryan Reynolds voice. So, like, this character was absolute for me. And it's one of those situations where, like, if I give up cosplay in the near 400 years later, like, that's going to be the one I still hold on to. Like, I'll still show up as Deadpool 600 years later because, like, it is just fun to be. Like, yeah. I don't much care for some of the people that strap on the Deadpool mask and then find a way to just be gross or handsy, feely, touchy. Like, this being Deadpool and, like, getting to be Deadpool is not about that. And, like, it was one of those rare occasions where I got to take a character and, like, redeem him in a weird, ethnical way. And it's just so fun to be, like, from the Hello Kitty down to the Golden Girls, down to just witty, weird things that he would say. Like, he's right up my alley, hands down. Like, I'm a very unique person, and Wade was always that person to be like, I'm not the person to tell you the right answer, but I can get you somewhere right around there. So, like, Deadpool for me is number one, and right now I'm kind of investigating looking at an X-Force suit, and it's just, with this wedding coming up and all the things we got to take care of, it's one of those investments. It's like, I'll just stay red and black for a little while.
So I think the real question is, have you been wearing the mask when going grocery shopping?
I have not been wearing the mask, but because of my boredom and me being such a wonderful social butterfly that I am, I might be on TikTok with a mask. I'm not going to give out my TikTok handle. If you guys find it, you find it. But I may or may not be on there messing around with Deadpool in pajamas.
If I had a TikTok account, I would bring it up right now and embarrass you, but I'm not going to go through the effort of creating an account right now just to do that. All right. Okay. So we can move on to Zatanna. This is one of my favorite of your costumes.
Thank you.
You can't really see it so
is
much
definitely my favorite.
Oh, really? You can't really see it so much in this photo. I might have, so here's another one. You can see a little bit of it. But this was in the, what's the name of that hotel? Do you remember, in Marietta?
The Lafayette.
Lafayette, okay. I thought that's what it was, but I couldn't remember for sure. But it's a really beautiful sort of old-fashioned building that I thought fit this character really well.
I loved the backdrop of the Lafayette, and they just said, oh yeah, go ahead, take pictures, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Couldn't pass it up.
No, yeah, it was beautiful. There is another one that I I couldn't find when I was looking for these photos so you could see the room a little bit better. But yeah, it was a really beautiful space, and it was a lot of fun shooting in there.
Yeah, it was beautiful. She was definitely a different one because I didn't really pick her necessarily. I was kind of asked to be her by a friend of ours who was doing a 1920s murder mystery with Batman characters.
Yeah,
really?
Batman Noir.
Batman Noir, yeah. And so I was going to do a Poison Ivy, but somebody else had already said that they were going to be Poison Ivy. I said, okay, well, what characters do you not have? And so he gave me a few characters. I said, Santana. I've always wanted to do Santana. I'll do her. And I wanted to put a 1920s spin to it. So I got the sequence tailcoat rather than her typical black tailcoat. And I kept pretty much everything else pretty classic to her, but I made sure it was all very 1920s look. I definitely did a different type of fishnet. I made sure the bow tie was white on white because that was definitely a 1920s thing. But that sequence coat was the thing that brought it all together, and I loved it.
It almost has a little bit of a Rocky Horror Picture Show vibe. Now that you kind of pointed out some of those things, the fishnets and the spangles or the rhinestones, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's very fun to be in. However, the coat gets caught on everything.
Yeah, I can see that.
I don't know how many times I've had to pick it out of my fishnets. Like, oh no, don't rip.
Yeah. Oh, I can see that.
All
right, so now we got to talk about Buster Pool, because this was very funny. This went over. This went over pretty big when you pardon the pun, but busted this one out.
That was a good one.
Good use of fun. Slow clap for you. This is one of those weird situations where friends and us sat down. Shout out. You know who you are, Josh. Love you. It was one of those times we were sitting down with friends. We were talking essentially Deadpool and fourth dimension wall breaks and just how he can kind of go anywhere. And it was one of those dumb, weird ideas that you kind of came up with. Like, what if we blended this with this? That way I could help them with their booth. And this thing really, really came together. Like, Josh made this pack, and I wish I could go downstairs and go get this thing for you, but it is gorgeous. Hands down, from top to bottom, handmade, remade for Deadpool, down to the unicorn wand, the trainee outfit. Like, this whole thing went over so well, and the blend of the two was just super awkward and fun to do. And for some reason, like, the Ghostbusters around the world, like, went off on this. Like, they all loved it, thought it was a horrible idea for this to actually be a real situation, but they loved the idea of that fourth wall break and like only let that work. And like, it was just so fun to do this, like to break into that Ghostbusters world. And because that group is a really great group, especially in this area for West Virginia. Really, they're doing a lot of donations, so it was really fun to strap in and help them with that, and also provide a lot of laughs as Deadpool.
Yeah, it was definitely a group effort with Josh and Sarah.
Yep.
Yeah, this is incredibly funny and incredibly well done. Have you guys played
and we're actually...
What's that? I missed what you just said.
We're actually hoping for him to kind of come back out again here soon, because I think I might be joining the Ghostbuster group here. So
there may be a pink and white.
I hope we're able to actually have some events coming up soon.
I just want to come into the out now. I'm so tired of being quarantined. Like, I want to go out and have some fun. Right. Like, it got to the point where I was actually talking to her about it. Like, what if I just go walk down the street as Deadpool? I wonder how weird our neighbors would think of us.
There's I won't name any names, but there's someone I've been seeing on Facebook that has been doing just that. Has been doing these walks around his neighborhood in costumes every day, and you know, I definitely support cosplayers, but he's got a few costumes that are legit nightmare fuel. and he's just
Oh.
parading around the neighborhood, scaring every little kid inside. I'm sure of it.
Well, I mean, that's one way to continue to enforce the quarantine. Just have them dress up, and just Pennywise through the streets. Just let us stay inside.
I don't know
You
if
may
you
be
guys,
doing more good than we can think.
I don't know if you guys can see the comments, but Kristen said that you should do it.
You know what? I might do it and then put that on that TikTok I might promote.
The secret TikTok account that you won't tell us about.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't even know it.
It does have the same Mr.J. cosplay, so it's kind of easy to find.
Oh.
All right, so this is a character that I was completely unfamiliar with when you showed up dressed as her. Well, I think it's a him, actually, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's Death the Kid from Soul Eater, and it is a boy, but I did a gender bent version.
Yeah. So this is a TV show or a video game?
This is a TV show. It's actually on Netflix if you guys wanted to watch it. It's an anime. It's called Soul Eater.
Okay. Well, since that's on Netflix, we might have to check it out. Speaking of checking stuff out, one of the things that myself and probably a lot of other people have been doing a little bit too much of in quarantine is playing Nintendo Switch. Justin, have you ever played Luigi's Mansion?
I have, but like a long time ago.
Right.
I haven't like a newer version of it yet.
Yeah. So I see the possibility for a Deadpool or Buster Pool Luigi's Mansion type video game.
I'll start drawing it up and
Right.
reach out to Josh
You
see if we
draw
can make
it.
a Luigi pack.
Yeah. I see potential there. All right.
We could just like put a niche on it. Yeah.
So I think we've gone through all of the photos I had, but Justin, you've kind of helped me out with a few little video things that we've done before, and I wanted to show a couple of these clips because they were pretty funny.
Obviously, he doesn't know how to end things with flair. Woo! It's your favorite Deadpool!
Hi, Wade.
Hi, Yukio! Now, just some nerd actually recruited...
Uh-oh. Oh, we're loading. I'm
to
trying
do
play
things
with-
right and end this video with a God, Logan! What did Fox do to you?
Thank God for that Disney money.
Anyway,
I'm telling you,
since I have such
half the
flair,
views on this
woo,
video
it's your
have to be
favorite
mine.
Deadpool!
Hi, Wade.
Hi, Yukio! Just some nerd actually recruited me to do things right and end this video with a God, Logan! What did Fox
No,
do to
I'm
you?
telling you, like, I
Thank
love this
God for
video
that
so much that
Disney
I actually
money.
downloaded it.
Anyway,
and found the
since I
song.
have such a
We
big
both
wallet
did.
and
Found
just
the
some
song that
nerd
you
wants me to
utilized
come
in
and
this
hang
video
out in
because we
Kentucky,
love
I think I'm
being
going
a
to
part of
spend a
this
couple...
project.
Ooh,
Again, I feel like I might
These
actually
aren't
be
nudes.
half your
What
views
the
on
hell?
this one alone.
Time to get on Patreon and look at sexy cosplay girls. Take it away, nerds.
I cannot believe she
Hey guys,
allowed
thank
us
you
to do
so
that, by
much.
the way.
How many views does that one have? Not that many. You've watched it less than 1,000 times.
I'll watch it a couple more later whenever I get on a break.
And then
That was fun doing that one. Coming up with the script of what you were saying and everything. It was really fun.
Yeah, that whole
Here's
con
one.
was fun. Shout out to Lexington. They know how to party.
Lexington was probably the best con we've ever
Hi,
been to.
YouTube.
I love
Yeah.
Just some nerd got his
Yeah,
ass kicked.
it's a shame
I
that they
happened to
ended
take
up not
over.
being able to have
Let's
it
go have
next
some
year.
fun, okay? This
It's
is
kind
going to
of-
be amazing.
It's what they had to do.
Look at him. Look at him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I might have
But,
done
I
something
don't know
stupid.
This was
But
All right.
the idea of
Go find
uh,
Yukio.
Deadpool like
She'd
being
understand
a
these
YouTube
jokes.
vlogger is just really funny to me for some
Uneducated
reason.
people. Oh my
you
God.
came up with this idea and like it fit. It was
go
absolute gold.
Tinder.
Like I could see it
This
in
is
real
some
life
garbage,
happen.
man.
Yeah.
Like
What else
literally
sucks?
taking over someone's channel and just going about his day. Like it's just hilarious
This is why
that
I
you came
just
up with
lift
that idea.
weights.
I feel like that's an idea that we can run with for some
Stabby,
future
dabby, dabby, two,
projects.
stabby, dabby, dabby, three, stabby, dabby.
Oh, absolutely.
Fuck
If you
DJ.
ever need someone to steal your camera,
Oh,
I am
look-
your
oh,
man.
wait. We're gonna break the fourth wall.
Yeah, I
Look,
think
We
it's
just
we're
gotta
just
have
some
like a
nerds.
parental
I
advisory.
didn't mean that in a bad way.
we're gonna have to get you a one wheel. All the
Let's
big
go find my
vloggers
unicorn.
on YouTube all have one
Let's
wheels
see if I can
now.
go get him. totally
I'm
out of
down.
focus.
Let me know
You
what
can
those
tell
are.
this is not my
I'm
day
serious.
job.
I would just do Deadpool blogger. That would be hilarious.
You don't know what I'm talking about? The one
I want to
wheels.
get up on the elusive unicorn.
The one
Here
wheels,
we go.
I've never
Yeah.
I
seen
bought me
them
a
now.
horny one, didn't
So
I?
it's like a Segway with no handlebars.
Oh
So
my
it's
god.
like a skateboard with like a big tire on it.
All right,
And then
YouTubians.
you ride it like a
I
Segway
love you.
where you just kind
You
of like
suck.
lean forward.
No, I'm just
And it
kidding. I
takes
love
off at a
you.
million
You're
miles an
beautiful.
hour.
You're wonderful.
Yeah.
And I want to thank
This
this.
seems a lot more fun, actually. I could be like Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Yeah. Yeah,
New cross play.
Give me a minute and I'll find one of them for you. I'll show you what they are. But all the big YouTube guys have one. Although it's probably one of those things that's like dated now. It was super cool in 2017, but nobody does it anymore. Right,
Yeah.
Let's see if this one.
This is the good stuff right here. You're gonna have many wonderful memories riding this thing.
I totally will, and I
There, you
That
can see
Adam
what they
Savage?
are.
That is the best.
Oh yeah, Adam.
can't wait to test the limits of
So there you go.
Sorry. I love Adam Savage. I don't care.
Alright, here we gotta watch him fall off this thing again. Alright, watch him. He's going. It's going good. It's going good. Oh!
Ooh. Put the wasted. That's that cup of gold right there. That's amazing.
To be honest, he's probably been hurt worse at Mythbusters.
Oh, I'm sure he has. I don't know if I.
Oh,
Ooh.
ah.
Alright, so is this... I thought this was just going to be a video of vloggers falling off of them. There we go. So yeah, I think you should ride one of these with a mask on where you have incredibly limited visibility.
Yeah, I mean, let's just add hot sauce to hot sauce. Just cook with jet fuel on this. But this was all a bad idea.
That is a $50.
Oh man. So, what have you guys been doing to entertain yourself through the quarantine when you have had free time? Other than TikTok videos in your pajamas.
Good God, you called out like half of my quarantine. Well, I know that you've been building on things in regards to cosplay.
I've been working on cosplay. He's been mostly just working.
Yeah, I'm just kind of attached to the office 70% of my time, and we do find time. We've started Borderlands, down from 2 to what is it now? The prequel. We're getting ready to jump into 3 later. Like, you know, absolute nerd things, but it's keeping us close. It's keeping us not yelling at each other for random breathing things. So the ability to play Borderlands has really been helpful. If anybody plays Borderlands, yell at us because we have room for a third and a fourth.
Which console?
No,
do you
I
play
really like
on?
playing. What?
Which console do you guys play on?
Oh, PS4.
PS4.
What do you think of the PS5? It sounds like it's going to be coming out this fall.
I haven't really heard much about it. I think you think it's PS5.
The PS5, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. What is your prediction for that? It's not because it sounds like it's probably going to be coming this fall or this winter.
Well, I've been doing quite a bit of research because in regards to tech, like that's what I do for my job. That's my niche of nerdism. So like in regards to the PS5, like dear Lord, the specs on it alone should put this thing at like $1,000, and they're already reporting
$1,000 too.
I don't want it to be like I keep hearing them say pitch $400 because I don't want that PlayStation to cost that much. Don't get me wrong, I'm going to pay for it.
Right.
It's just I might need Trump to bail me out again and send me a stimulus.
Well,
but no.
If you're not aware of this, the House did pass another stimulus bill yesterday, but the Senate is not going to. It's not going to get through the Senate, so you're not going to get another $1,200 check right away. But I kind of
I'll find another way to get the PS5.
I wonder if maybe they will release 2 or 3 models of it, like a $400 one, and then like a $600 one, and then like a $1,200 one.
Oh, so you're talking about pulling out an Apple to where they're selling like a base model. I know traditionally whenever
they
did
that with the Xbox 360 too. PlayStation is really they've staggered the sort of variations of the PlayStation before, but once you start getting into that $1,000 price range, you start pricing out a lot of your potential users. So I do think it'll cost that much, but I suspect that they will probably have a less expensive version, like, you know, aimed at kids and people that really just want to stream Netflix, and a more expensive version for, you know, people that are more serious and want to like stream their games and play online and things like that.
Yeah, I'm really pumped for it because some of the next gen stuff that they're showing just looks absolutely beautiful. Like the graphics that they're utilizing with these graphics cards is just taking PlayStation to a whole new level. And I'm really hoping that like PlayStation does what they're supposed to and like give you those 2 models, one being the lesser, was it 250 gigs, and the other one was like a terabyte.
Yeah.
And then 4 years down the road, they release a Slim that has 6G capabilities. Like PlayStation is notorious for doing that, but I'm really hoping for they do have that cheaper model, so that way a lot more gameplay for especially fans that necessarily don't have that $1,000 to lay around. Like I want that game to continue. If they don't, then it's going to be just as much of a bust as the PS3 was. The sales on that tanked quite a bit, if I can remember correctly.
I don't know how well the PS3 sold, but I know that mine broke and I never bothered getting it fixed.
Yeah, it wasn't worth it. Like the PS1 was amazing. PS2, great. 3, somehow they dropped the ball. And then 4, they picked up that ball like crazy. And I'm really hoping that 5, they're not going to pull a 3 on us or give us that $1,000 price tag.
Yeah.
Like, for it. 2020 can't be that much bad.
I think it's going to be pricey. I think the both PlayStation and Xbox are moving closer and closer to being a PC and further away from just being a game console. And you know, that's what you're looking to pay for a top of the line PC. So I think that's probably what we're going to see out of the next generation PlayStation and Xbox.
Absolutely, especially whenever there's rumor that these gaming consoles are going to be utilizing hot swappable parts, and you know, having that expansion piece and having that stuff. Like, if we're moving to where consoles are catching up with gaming PCs, like Alienware, and then like tanking them, you definitely, it may be $1,000 out of that pocket that might hurt, but you're getting such great gameplay that it's going to be something worth that investment, I think.
Yeah, but then the inverse of that, I guess, is Nintendo coming out with the Switch, which is, some people would maybe say is like, you know, for kids, but I mean, it's incredible. Like, just the convenience of being a home console and a portable console at the same time for $300 is pretty incredible.
Oh yeah, right now I'm telling you, Nintendo has the best marketing. Like, Animal Crossing is the #1 thing during quarantine. Like, to live your life without living your life. It's kind of awesome. Like, my daughter brought it home, and I just kind of sat there and watched it, and like, I kind of want one now.
Have you guys seen that video of the old lady that played the DS version of Animal Crossing for like hundreds of hours and had this like crazy evolved town and stuff?
Yes, I've seen that video.
That is
the lady
the
was like old
thing of all time.
Animal Crossing.
Yes. I love that lady. I want her to be my grandmother as well.
I think all of us want that.
Yeah. It made me wonder if I should take my grandmother Animal Crossing.
Go for it. The worst comes to worst, you'd have one.
Right. No, I think what she really needs is an iPad loaded up with a crossword puzzle game so she never runs out of crossword puzzles.
Don't knock that, because my weird guilty pleasure, and I really hope that like 1,000 billion people aren't watching right now. I mean, I'm hoping for you that they are, but I love crossword puzzles. I do. I can't help it. It's not my age. It's just like, for some reason, it helps me with my job and gets me quicker to solutions. And plus, I like being, just putting things together. I like puzzles.
Well, it does help you
think of
train
it. It's
your
like,
brain.
help me.
It really does. And, a sad sob story made short. My grandmother, she brought me up on crossword puzzles when we were poor and didn't have nothing to do. So, like, it's a nice memory to have of my grandma who's, getting up there in age. We like be able to do those crosswords together. It's nice.
Yeah, that is a nice memory. So on that, we're getting close to an hour. So is there anything that you guys would like to plug before we get out of here?
Right now,
you're not
Corona.
exactly allowed to get out and do anything, but you've got that TikTok going for you.
If you guys find that Mr.J.J.Cosplay somewhere around in there, feel free to yell at me, I guess.
I actually did my very first Pass the Prop video today, and I sent it to a group who's doing Wolverine X-23s. So I've never done videos like that before. I actually don't really do videos at all. But it was really fun, so I actually might get into that as well. It's been really hard being in quarantine. I have a lot of problems with anxiety and planning the wedding and everything like that, and having other family issues. Like I have a grandmother who's not doing too well right now, and so it was really hard on me. But doing that video, getting back into a costume, didn't fit very well. By the way, it was an old costume. But getting back into it just felt really good, and having that little video to show me that I can still do it even though I'm stuck in the house. I might actually get into that myself. So hopefully you guys might see some stuff from me.
Maybe be getting you a TikTok.
Maybe.
Have you guys seen the Pass the Brush video with the conspiracy theory guy?
No,
I haven't seen that one.
It's amazing. Anyone that hasn't seen that, you need to look it up. It's very, very funny. He's
after the dinner, please send me the link because I need this in my life.
It's very funny. I shared it on Facebook a week or so ago. You may be able to dig through there and find it, but it is very funny. It is the drop the brush video to end all drop the brush videos.
Oh, I gotta see this now.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining the live stream. I haven't chose a guest for next week yet, so I will, if anybody is interested, reach out to me and let me know, and so because I would appreciate the help. And I really appreciate Justin and Miranda joining me tonight. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you very much for having us. As always, we love you. If you need anything, reach out, call, text, smoke signals. We get everything here in West Virginia, and I understand some of them.
Well, I need a lot of help, but I'll see if I can figure it out on my own before I send you too many smoke signals.
Could be fun.
All right, thank you everybody.
We miss you,
watching.
and we hope we can see you.
I miss you guys too. I miss everybody.
Yeah, I miss everybody at this point.
Right. Yeah.
Love you, but I miss other people.
I love you, but I miss other people. I'm putting that in our wedding vows. Oh, God, that needs to be a soundbite.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks for watching.